Fire racing through a commercial laundry. A stack of clean washing has set alight spontaneously.
That's got quite a developed fire in there, which is threatening the other two units.
When a driver is trapped in an overturned car by a collapsed wall, even the police are surprised when they learn just how close to home this accident has happened.
I'm a little bit shocked.
A bit shocked.
Especially seeing her.
Yeah, absolutely.
And next door neighbour as well, you know.
Oh, she's next door.
And it was a pleasure walking up the hill, coming down's proving just a little harder.
So be ready for a rest. Okay, ready, brave, lower.
Hello and welcome to the Sussex Police Control Room here in Lewes. 40 staff are on duty dealing with almost 1,500 calls a day, and many turn into full-scale emergencies. When fire traps you in your house, the advice is to get the family into another room, shut the doors and put blankets against it to stop the deadly fumes coming in. Now, one mum kept her head and saved her two young daughters by going one step further. This is the call she made.
I need a fire brigade right now. My house is on fire. I've got two babies upstairs and my house is on fire.
What's your address, please? Yeah, OK then, well, we're on our way.
Please, I've got two children up here and
Can you get them out?
I can't see because of the smoke.
And they're upstairs, are they? Can you get out of the building?
No, we can't get out of the building. Can you hurry up, please? I've got only one child in my bedroom and the other child...
Where's the other child?
He's in the bedroom, smoking every single bedroom. I can't...
Do you know where the smoke's coming from?
The kitchen, I think.
It's the kitchen downstairs.
Oh, please, I can't see.
Any fire in the house is serious, but from the information that Abby was giving me, the fact that she couldn't see and she had difficulty breathing, I knew the fire had taken a real hold and she was in real danger.
Can you get down on the floor?
Yeah.
You're down on the floor.
Yeah. I can't get to my baby's
You're in the front bedroom. And your baby's in the rear bedroom. Now, in your room, how is that child?
Are you okay? Yeah.
Is that child on the floor with you?
I need to get down on the floor, Mummy.
Yeah, just get down. We'll be there very, very shortly.
Then suddenly, after an uncontrollable fit of coughing, silence.
Hello? Hello?
When Abby stopped talking to me, that was really the worst part of the call. It was the uncertainty, the not knowing what had actually happened to her. And I did actually think the worst at some point.
Hello?
I kept calling her in the hope that she was near the telephone and she could actually hear me, but she didn't answer.
At the other end of the call, unbeknown to John, Abby Mann has left the relative safety of her bedroom to reach her 2-year-old daughter in the other bedroom, taking her older daughter with her.
I can hear the baby crying. I can't hear the mother.
Despite the choking smoke, Abby manages to grab her youngest daughter from the other room. The family are now hiding in the bathroom, where Abby is quick-thinking enough to soak a blanket with water. Crouching over her children, she covers them all with a blanket. It's now a waiting game.
I got to the point where I thought if I took one more breath, that would be it. I didn't know, honestly didn't know how many more breaths I could take of it.
And at that point, the firefighters arrive.
I didn't hear any sirens or anything like that. The first thing I heard was a fireman's voice saying they're in here, they're all here. At that point, I blacked out. And the next thing I know is I'm outside being given mouth-to-mouth.
Against all the odds, Abby and both of her children were safe.
There's no way I could leave a child. You can't choose between your children. At which point was a snap decision to go and grab Poppy as well. As I went to go and get Poppy, Ellie stuck to me. She by my side. She did exactly as I asked her to do. I'd taken the cover with me that had covered me and Ellie. And as I grabbed Poppy and put them on the floor, I wet it in the bath and put that over the girls, and then just covered them up basically. Ellie put herself almost on top of her sister as well to to look after her baby sister. For 5 years old, she was absolutely incredible. She listened to everything. She stayed calm. They both did exactly at 2 and 5 exactly what I asked them to do.
After 12 hours on oxygen and a short stay in hospital, Abby and her girls were allowed out to stay with relatives. By getting both children under the wet blanket, Abby played a big part in saving their lives.
To look at my little girls now, running about, playing, Ellie's back at school, it's just a miracle, to be honest. It's an absolute miracle that we all survived.
If Abby's smoke alarm hadn't woken her, it could have been a very different story. And she knows that the call taker John Dunkley and the firefighters also had a big part to play.
If it wasn't for them, then they're absolutely amazing. They really are my heroes.
I want to have a quick chat with Janice about a lady who phoned up concerned for some jewellery, wasn't she?
Yeah, absolutely. She'd had a burglary earlier, and she'd had some jewellery stolen, and she really wanted these items back, treasured items, So she went round to the local pawnbrokers and jewellers.
And told them what it was like?
Absolutely, to see if anybody was coming in to try to sell them any jewellery that fitted the description. We had another call into the contact centre from a pawnbroker's to say that somebody had been in with the items, or what looked like the items, and quick thinking on their part.
Yes.
Yeah, they gave them, the jewellers gave them half the money and asked them to come back a little bit later on for the rest of the money for the jewellery.
Then called you?
Then called us to let us know what was going on. We then advised them to, when the people came into the shop to get the rest of the money, to give us a call on 999, obviously discreetly, and we would get officers there. So that's exactly what happened. Officers arrived and arrested the persons and got all the jewellery back for the lady, which was really lovely. So
thanks to them as well?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Quick thinking on the jeweller's part.
What an excellent story.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
No problem.
Brilliant stuff, but I have just discovered my favourite story of the day so far. Natalie's about to tell me. It involves a squirrel going nuts in a toilet. What was going on?
Well, we received a call from a very distressed female who said that she'd gone into a bathroom and found a squirrel down her toilet, which was still alive, so she was quite upset.
So scrambling, making a bit of a mess, trying to get out.
That's it, yeah, trying to get out, a bit of a panic itself. She was quite scared, so we advised her to get a towel, wet it, drape it around the toilet, and then have the towel going out to the window, which is what she did. She closed the door, left it for a few minutes, went back in, and the squirrel had escaped.
Fantastic. So it climbed up the old wet towel?
It certainly did, yes.
Is that in part of your training? Is that part of the manual, page 3? If there's any squirrel stuck in the toilet, get a towel wet.
That's the one. Yeah, it is in the manual, yeah.
Amazing. I must get a copy of that. Natalie, thank you very much.
You're more than welcome. Thank you.
Accidents can and do happen on the shortest of journeys. In the next rescue, a woman is trapped in an overturned car only a few feet from her own front door.
Littlehampton, all the emergency services, including traffic officer Bob Blair, have been sent to a road accident.
We just had a call to report of a vehicle which is overturned. It's a residential area. The lady driver of the car is still trapped within the vehicle. We're a few minutes away, and the first units are just arriving on scene now by the sounds of it.
A quiet road has been taken over by a fleet of emergency vehicles, all responding to this. The overturned vehicle, a mobility car, lies near a smashed garden wall. Fully conscious, the woman trapped inside has been communicating with ambulance staff and fire crews.
The details of this lady here.
Yeah.
She owns the wall. She's in hand, and I'll do the side of it.
Right.
There's no witnesses.
Okay.
Bob and his colleagues need to try and piece together what's happened when no other person or vehicle appears to have been involved.
Who's the unfortunate wall owner? That's you, is it? Right.
I looked out my kitchen window and I saw something blue something.
At least you weren't doing your gardening at the time.
That's a good job I wasn't one.
Sure.
a young lad was just coming round the corner on his bike and he saw the bricks. And when I came out, he was on his mobile. I said, "You ringing the emergency service?" He said, "Yeah."
Are you okay yourself?
No, I was a little bit shook up.
A bit shocked.
Especially seeing her.
Yeah, absolutely.
And next door neighbour as well, you know.
Oh, she's next door.
Yeah, I'm number one.
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
See how you don't.
No, wow.
Crumpled against the left-hand door of her car that's lying on the road, Lorraine is trapped in an uncomfortable position after falling across from the driver's seat. She hasn't been able to answer yet as to how she managed to travel from her driveway via neighbour Christine's wall to end up in this position. But she does have a favour to ask of Bob. Lorraine was only heading out for a moment, so she asked Bob if he can fetch her a change of clothes for hospital.
She needs some bottoms from the house. Would you be happy to come with me to the house?
Yeah, but the front door's locked.
Apparently the back one's open, but it might be more suitable for you to go through her drawers and...
Firefighters have removed the back seats of the car for access. As she hasn't complained of any neck or back pain, the medical team are happy that she can be gently lifted and eased out to the waiting stretcher. But Lorraine does have some nasty cuts to her right arm and shoulder. They definitely will need some further medical attention. Bob brings her a change of clothes.
The house is completely insecure.
Christine agrees to watch over her neighbour's property until Lorraine's husband can come back to lock up properly. Lorraine will be patched up at Worthing Hospital. Christine's wondering who will now patch up her wall.
Will the firemen clear all this up?
We'll make it safe and clear it to the
Otherwise,
office.
I'll have to come out and do it, you see.
As Lorraine was driving a brand new automatic car, Bob suspects that after reversing out of her drive, she may have made a common mistake of hitting the accelerator rather than the brake when she started to move forward.
It's an automatic vehicle, so whether she's accidentally pressed the accelerator instead of the brake, but literally she's come from the house next door and within the space of 20 yards managed to turn the vehicle over, so we're not sure exactly what's happened, but we'll make some inquiries and work it out.
Lorraine's got off lightly, considering to topple the wall and then tip over suggests she must have accelerated at some speed. In the meantime, the operation to clean up the neighbourhood continues.
Yeah, we're trying. So new, it hasn't even had time to get dirty yet. No.
Back on its wheels, Lorraine's mobility car will now be delivered to the recovery yard, where it will wait until she can get back on her feet.
Lorraine needed several stitches in her arm. Her car was a write-off.
Now, a little bit earlier on, we heard from Liz, who was promising us she was going to tell us about how she helped a man in a house stuck in the bath. I want some more details. How did it all start?
We took a call from a GP who had been contacted by the man's neighbours. They'd been trying to contact him for a couple of days, knocking on the door. Although he'd been speaking to them, they couldn't get him to actually open the door. He was saying to let themselves in and that he was having a party, he was in the bath. The GP attended the address and contacted us because she was getting the same response from him and wanted to access the property and check on his welfare. So
it sounds as if the elderly man was confused, maybe injured. Yes. It was a bit too... What did you do? You sent the boys in, did you? Yeah.
We assigned it for a unit to attend the address. The officers went. They also spoke to him, could speak to him through the door, but couldn't get him to actually come and open the door. We contacted the fire brigade and asked them to assist us with gaining entry to the address. They attended and entry was gained through the kitchen window. Right. Once they were actually in the property, they did find the man in the address. Unfortunately, he was in the bath. He had a fall and had a laceration to his head.
So he had head injuries. I mean, how long had he been there?
They do think he was there for at least a day, probably more.
Oh, poor man. And so the paramedics went in?
The paramedics attended, and fortunately, because of the neighbour's concern, we were able to get there and assist him, and the paramedics were able to look after him.
Yeah, it just shows if the neighbour hadn't been concerned, he could have been there for days, couldn't he?
Yeah, it's the neighbours realised that it was out of character for him, the way that he was responding when they were knocking on the door, and from our point of view, if there is that kind of concern, we'd rather someone let us know when we checked it out, and that we can do as we did in this situation and help someone.
Well done you, and well done the neighbours.
It's late on a weekday evening when police officer on patrol spots smoke pouring out of a commercial laundry. The fire is so big, crews are called in from several stations. There are no signs of arson or any other obvious cause. The firefighters are tackling a fire that appears to have started itself.
It's the early hours of the morning. Southampton's Green Watch have been called across the city to tackle a large fire on an industrial estate.
We're going on what's called pumps A, 8 pumping appliances. Water tenders already in attendance that went on pumps 4.
The fire service are taking no chances. When Green Watch arrive, there are 10 appliances in all, with 60 firefighters. They'll work in relay to knock back the fire. It's in a large commercial laundry, washing hotel linen as well as heavy-duty industrial overalls. Plenty of material to feed the flames, which are threatening the units next door. Green Watch manager Sean signs his crew in with control.
3 BA, suited and booted in your sector, ready to go.
Okay, so they're all down there?
They're down there, yeah.
Okay, thanks very much.
All right.
With so many fire crews on site, this has to be a highly organised attack on the flames. The position of every firefighter recorded. The first crews arrived to find the building locked up, allowing the flames to superheat the inside.
When we turned up, the building was all sealed up, so our initial actions were to try and make a forced entry, and now we've removed the whole roller shutter door to gain access into the loading bay.
With a new supply of oxygen through the opening, the fire surged and flames soon breached the roof. But it's also provided an escape for the superheated gases, making it easier for the firefighters to work. An aerial ladder platform's in place to pour thousands of gallons of water through the holes in the roof. Dan Tasker is in charge of the operation.
That's got quite a developed fire in there, which is threatening the other 2 units. For that reason, we've got a lot of crews deployed in there at the moment, just basically holding the fire in check. We've got an aerial ladder platform that's also keeping the fire in check from above, just stopping it from spreading through the rest of the building. Meanwhile, we've got crews in the other 2 buildings just checking there's nobody inside, making sure that's clear, making sure there's no fire spread. At the moment, it seems to be going quite well. We've got that fire in check. We're making a good progress on that. So all things being good, we should be able to get a fire surround message quite soon.
Fire surround means they've contained the fire, stopping it in its tracks. The next job is extinguishing the remaining flames, but it's not going to be easy.
It's masses of laundry materials, clothing, textiles, that sort of thing. That's what we've got on fire at the moment. Obviously quite awkward as far as extinguishing it because there's a lot of it and it's quite tightly bundled. So we're going to be here a little while, I think.
Anxiously watching the drama unfold is the laundry manager, Scott. He was the first to tell his boss, David, his business was on fire.
When I first got the call about the fire, the first thing goes through your mind is, this is not going to be a small fire. You don't have a small fire in a laundry, not in the middle of the night. So in a funny way, I was prepared when I got there. I knew what I was going to see. Still smoke coming out. A lot of laundry smoking outside on the yard. A lot of cages that you keep the laundry in. Spreading it out on the floor, dousing it down, making sure there was no chance of further fire. Rather sad.
David's company prides itself on cleanliness and safety. It's tough to watch the stock in such a state, but everything must be damped down.
It's very difficult to get into it without pulling it all out and rushing through it all with a jet, and it does create a lot of mess.
It's now 3 a.m. There's still the odd flare-up, but the fire is mostly out. Rich Green and Adam Bundle have finished their stint inside.
Yeah, just loads of cages of laundry, mate, so There was fire on the ground floor, and then there was a mezzanine floor as well. That was well alight. So we just started at the front, worked our way to the back, and put it out.
Incident Commander Dan is pleased with the way things have gone.
We've made a really good stop on the fire. Good news is we've had no injuries to firefighters. There's no other further damage to the other 2 units or the surrounding environment. And hopefully, come tomorrow morning, business continuity will resume for all the other units in this area.
Now the fire's dealt with, they can begin their investigation into how it started. Their findings are not conclusive, but all evidence suggests that the fire started itself.
We believe they've ruled out arson, they've ruled out electrical, they've ruled out chemical. There was nobody on site. Therefore, the only conclusion we've reached at the moment is what they call spontaneous combustion, which, given the right degree of contamination in garments and the right degree of heat and the inability of the garments to easily dissipate the heat, can give rise to what they call self-heating, in the sense that a garment can not just get cooler, but it can actually get hotter until it may reach a point of charring, and more oxygen being then drawn in, it can eventually ignite.
The fire has destroyed £250,000 of machinery. That'll be covered by insurance, but David's main concern was his customers. But thanks to the firefighters' swift action, not all was lost.
Raking through what the firemen had pulled out, we rescued about 70 to 75% of customer stock and customer garments. I think their response and the speed that the fire crews got out and the number of vehicles they had available to them was amazing.
So it appears this fire started itself, a case of, what, spontaneous ignition. Well, last series we heard how this church was gutted by fire after a rag soaked with linseed oil was left in a rubbish bin. Well, we've got Mark Hobbs here, an expert, I should say, in linseed oil fires. No fire and rescue service.
You say so, Chris.
I'm not a scientist. I don't quite understand the details, but how does this happen?
OK, I'm not a scientist either, Chris. In technical terms, it's oxidation. It's a reaction with oxygen in the atmosphere all around. Certain oils, in particular linseed oil is particularly prone, will react with oxygen in the air, and the way it dries itself out is a byproduct is it creates heat. And if you use the product on a rag and you don't lay it out for the heat to get away, if you like, dissipate, there's a chance that it can create so much heat that it can cause a fire.
OK, which must surprise a lot of people at home, but what I don't understand, in this laundry, obviously the clothes, the materials were clean.
Yeah. Even after washing in a washing machine, there will be a residue of oil. Now, I'm not sure what was on these clothes in this particular case. It could have been linseed oil, it could have been vegetable oil or any other oil. But there will invariably be some sort of residue left. Once they've been cleaned, presumably they're put into a tumble dryer, that will create heat, and then particularly if you take them out of the tumble dryer and stack them tightly and that heat can't escape, then it could cause a situation where a fire could occur.
Right, I'm panicking now because I've oiled my cricket bat with my linseed oil rag, and I'm thinking, well, I might have mopped up a whole load of vegetable oil that I spilt in the kitchen and I just throw it in the bin. Should I be really worried?
With the linseed oil, you need to take precautions, and actually if you read the back of the bottle, Chris, when you next use it, you'll find that there is a warning on there quite clearly which tells you how to safely dispose of the rags. OK. With the vegetable oil, it's not such a product to the same extent as linseed oil that it's not so likely to cause a fire, and generally in my experience and the fire service experience with vegetable oil in laundries, it's commercial laundries where you've got large amounts of tea towels typically which are stacked tightly together, so in your own home environment you're not going to have a large pile of tea towels, no doubt. But the other issue is what people should be aware of in their home as well as commercial laundries is you'd always leave your tumble dryer to complete its cycle, because at the end of the cycle it goes through a cooling stage, and if you turn it off before it gets to that stage and leave the items in there, they're at a temperature where if there is a product like linseed oil on the clothing, it could be a risk.
Brilliant. OK, so I can get some advice from your website?
Yeah, we've some time ago now we set up a website. It's all the W's, blackmuseum.info, so your viewers are quite welcome to go in there. There's a number of cases on there to do with other causes of fire, but linseed oil and spontaneous combustion is on there. There's also a section on there which would be really interested to get their own stories, because we typically only attend 20% of fires in the country, 80% are unreported to us, so that'd be really useful for them to visit the site, see some of these cases, and also if they can give us information.
Yeah. OK, Mark, thank you very much indeed. I'm just going to
welcome.
call my mum, Lou, because I've left the rags for my linseed oil bat in the bin.
Go call her.
Ashdown Forest, Sussex. It's just after 6 p.m. and PC Shelley Marder has been called to an accident on a country road.
We've had a report of a car that's lost control and has rolled in the road.
Apparently, a member of the public said the driver appears drunk and staggering all over the place.
PC Marder arrives to find the car's come to rest on its roof.
PC Marder, is this your vehicle?
It's my mum's.
OK, were you the driver at the time of the crash?
The driver appears to have escaped completely unharmed.
You're on the insurance and everything to drive the vehicle?
Yes, obviously.
OK, well, I'm just asking.
He's blaming the accident on an animal dashing out into the road.
A fox shoots out in the middle of the road. I make a quick turn, and then it just hits it, and then I try to correct it, and then it just...
OK, so have you had anything to drink this evening?
No.
Nothing at all?
No, give me a breathalyzer.
I will do.
The driver's not bothered about taking a breath test. However, he's refusing medical attention, and not very graciously.
OK?
I don't know what to do with it.
OK, if he's refusing, that's fine.
To me.
Language, please. I don't want to hear that sort of language. Don't go anywhere.
Shelley's getting suspicious as the driver is trying to get something out of the car. He says he wants a smoke, but Shelley thinks he has something in there he doesn't want her to see.
Right, let's leave your tobacco. I'll get that out for you in a minute.
Shelley is convinced the breathalyzer will go some way to explaining this accident.
Okay. Come stand here. I'm talking to you. OK, nice deep breath and blow into the machine till I tell you to stop. That's it, brilliant, stop. Pop that in your bag for you.
The result comes as a surprise to PC Marder, but not to the driver.
0, OK?
Magic.
That's fine, everyone involved in a collision is always breathalyzed.
Passing the breathalyzer hasn't made him any more cooperative.
Has he signed it?
Don't worry about it and go away.
Have you contacted your mum?
Shelley needs to check out every detail of the driver's story.
Please. I was wondering whether you could do a check, please. Is the male on the insurance to drive the vehicle?
Although the story about the car has checked out, his erratic behaviour is suspicious, especially his aggression towards the paramedics.
He was really aggressive.
Yeah, we don't want your help, and we're like...
Shelley suspects the driver may be under the influence of drugs, but because of his volatile nature, is unwilling to search him until backup arrives. In the meantime, she needs to get the traffic moving.
Where's the bus driver? Ah, there you are. Do you think you can fit through there? Pardon? Not with the trees.
No, trees are the bang. No, seriously.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll get these locked down here then. 1, 2, 3, go.
That's it.
First priority is to get the paramedics away to their next call.
Echo 281. Our ambulance is standing down to go to a RTC in Edenbridge. Have we had it through yet? Back! Go back! I didn't say come through!
The unwanted ambulance heads off to another accident and police backup arrives in the form of PC Alan Williams. Shelley shares her concerns.
I don't want to search him on my own because he's been quite aggressive to people.
Okay.
So would you be able to help me?
Yeah, of course.
That's fine.
PC Williams immediately notices signs of possible drug use.
Okay, well, that's fine. Okay, so what I'm saying to you, mate, is, okay, your pupils look very dilated, okay? You said accident. Stop swearing at me, right? Have you got anything on you shouldn't have, sir? No. Okay.
The driver was seen throwing something over the fence after the accident. Shelley found a bag of items related to drug use. There's now enough reason to arrest him.
Right, at the moment you're under arrest on suspicion of possession of a controlled substance. You didn't have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention, when questioned, something which you later rely in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. Do you understand the caution? Do you understand? Right, that's fine.
As the driver's pockets are searched, Shelley continues to scan the area he was seen throwing packages.
Right, I found some more drugs, the same place I found the other bag.
Okay, get your hands out.
And from the description of what the members of the public told me, I've just found a large quantity of cocaine and cannabis.
The recovery vehicle has arrived. It will right the car, enabling the police to have a better look inside.
There's nothing fallen out that I can see.
A cursory search reveals no more drugs. The car will be searched by a specialist dog unit later.
He was proper having a search underneath there.
At the police station later, the driver tested positive for drugs. He pleaded guilty to driving while unfit through drugs.
Mobile phones give us all a sense of security. If anything happens while we're off the beaten track, we're almost certain to be able to get help. But it's not always as easy as that. The most scenic spots are often the hardest for emergency services to reach. Paramedic Sam Mason is heading out on an emergency call to a man who has fallen and landed badly on his ankle. It's happened on a hill popular with walkers and inaccessible to vehicles. The local ambulance crew has had to call the hazardous area emergency team in to help get him out.
We're almost at scene. Are you bringing the Polaris?
Polaris is an all-terrain vehicle used to carry casualties across very rough terrain. But when paramedic Sam Mason reaches St Catherine's Hill, she can see they won't be able to use it here.
It's not going to be a Polaris job because there's a kissing gate to get up the hill.
The only way onto the hill is through a gate, on foot. It's a steep climb and Sam needs some directions from her colleague already with the injured man.
Hi Simon, it's Sam from the Heart team. Where the road forks off to its left and right, which way are you? Okie dokie.
She finds them. Simon Surplice has already carried out basic health checks on the man.
He was quite happily walking up. Marnie's going to do this. Done a bit of a curl. Did your ankle go underneath you, or did it go away from you?
There's little doubt that the man's ankle is broken. He heard it crack as he fell.
A previous compound fracture from an RTC, so he's got a plate, and it sounds like it's just below plate level. Okay. So the problem is, you're going to either get a helicopter to the top, or someone to the bottom.
Claire McGonigal is a team leader of the hazardous area response team. She radios for more help as Simon continues to monitor the casualty. The ambulance crews are going to have to carry the injured man down the hill. It's a sunny day, but muddy and very slippery underfoot.
And the grass each side of it is not too bad at all. It's just the muddy centre of it. So it's more just mini handbrake like work.
The reinforcements have brought with them a special body splint, which unfolds to be used as a stretcher. But before they can move him, his leg must be immobilised.
This splint, we're going to form it around your right leg, and then by a process of suction and magic, suck all the air out of it, make it hard. And then once that's holding your leg really still, we're quite optimistic it's going to take the pain away.
Once the splint is on, they're ready to start moving him.
My colleagues hold your bad leg. If you help with your good leg, we'll support you, and we just want to sit you back onto the... Sit your bum back on.
Straight back.
That's it. Well done.
A little bit more. Okay.
The flexible stretcher will be moulded around his body once he's securely strapped in.
These straps need to be a little bit tight, unfortunately, just so that you're safe going down the hill, all right? But we'll try. Where's that? Is that your leg that's hurting?
Is that helping at all? Yeah. Yeah? Okay. It wears off quite quickly, so you can just keep taking it, all right? Just nice, long, deep breath.
Ready, set, lift.
6 paramedics are needed to lift the injured man safely. The path down is dangerously muddy, and every move is painful.
I've got morphine in my pocket.
Right, let's do that. Can you listen? You're all nice and there for me. No pain? Is that gone now, is it? Okay.
With the pain under control, they can set off once again down the hill.
Ready, brace, lift. Ooh.
Really slippery here.
Ooh. Got no traction at all.
Progress is slow.
So be ready for a rest.
Okay, ready, brace, lower.
Change sides. How do you do?
Lift, ready, steady, lift. It's still quite slippery here. I know this from the 3 recce's I've done, but...
They finally reached the car park at the bottom.
That's it now.
Winchester, aren't we?
The injured man is then taken in a comfortable ambulance to Winchester A&E, where his ankle will be x-rayed to assess the full extent of the damage.
It's interesting being in here because actually it's quite quiet. People are talking, but of course they're taking calls, all sorts of different types of calls all the time from people who are often in distress. I'm going to talk to Tom if he's okay to talk. Tom, are you okay? You busy? You took a call from a lady, an elderly lady, didn't you, who was really worried about something?
Yeah, she was 92 years old and living on her own. And she got her wash and went to bed, and then she heard some noises downstairs, which she thought sounded like foreign gentlemen that were down there. And so she called 999. So I'd got the address of where she was, telephone number, and I sent it down as a grade 1 call. Then I told her
because you thought it was a burglary going on?
Yeah, but you can only take it on what people's word is. If they say they think it's there, you've got to go on that. So anyway, what I did, I told her to get a chair and stick it up against the door handle so that nobody could get in, and go back, sit in the bed, and I would talk to her on the phone. So I kept her talking on the phone, kept making sure she was all right, if she was hearing anything downstairs. But the time I put it up down there, within 10 minutes, the police were actually there, and our back door was open, so they eventually got into the house. They came upstairs, and I could tell by looking at the log that they were in the house and it was okay. So I told her that she could take the chair away and open the door, and the police were there. And then the police came on to the phone, and they'd said that she'd went to bed and she'd left her TV on, and there was a foreign film on the TV.
So she was in her bed and she was hearing the voices on the television, and at the time it was foreign voices because it was a foreign film, and that's what...
Yeah.
Oh, was she reassured that when you arrived?
Oh, yeah, she was, as soon as the police were there, they looked after her and everything was okay.
And how long did it take you to get there then?
Less than 10 minutes, I'd say about between 8 and 9 minutes. Which is pretty good because it wasn't a urban situation. It's quite a rural place, but it may have just been that the car was near at the time, but it was really quick.
Do you think next time she'll turn the telly off?
I think she might do that.
Thanks, Tom.
OK, that's great.
Every year, 17,000 cyclists are killed or injured on our roads. However, not all accidents involve other vehicles. It's daybreak. The rush hour hasn't started yet, but a commuter's already been hurt on the road. Paramedic Helen and emergency care assistant Paul are on their way.
We're going to Caution Police Station, just outside. Apparently it's a push bike versus a motor vehicle. We don't know how many people are involved yet.
They arrive at the police station where the cyclist is recovering. He was helped by 2 officers who called for an ambulance. Helen can see straight away his face has taken the brunt of the impact.
Are you able to tell me what's happened?
Well, I was going in that roundabout, pulled out the other side, and suddenly the bike just...
Right, OK, you've obviously hit the floor.
Yeah.
OK, do you think you've lost consciousness at all?
No.
No? OK, so you remember everything that's happened?
Yeah.
It turns out Roy didn't collide with a car, just the tarmac. Helen checks for any possible head injury. Luckily, the iris of each eye is responding naturally.
So, obviously, I can see that you've hurt your face. Have you hurt anywhere else?
No.
Roy rides to work daily. He was wearing a helmet, but he flew over the handlebars, landing face first.
Your knees are all OK?
Well, that one. Got
Yeah.
through there.
You cut it. Let's have a look.
Oh,
All right,
great
just taking the skin off of there. OK. What about your hands and your wrists? Are you all OK?
No, they're fine.
Yeah, shoulders all OK?
Yeah.
Right, OK. You don't feel dizzy or anything like that? Disorientated?
No.
If we take you in the ambulance to get you cleaned up a little bit and have a look at what you've done. Right. Want to jump up there and pop yourself in that front seat? Let's have a look.
Well, I think basically I cracked my head.
Right. Yeah, that's going to need a stitch.
Roy's face is blackened and blooded. Helen wants to check that he has no other hidden and potentially more serious injuries.
You haven't got any neck pain or anything like that? No? No, sure.
Nearly swallowed me, sweet.
Oh, God.
Roy clearly feels he's had a lucky escape.
Have a look at your teeth. You're not...
They're pulsed.
OK, you've not... None of them feel loose with your tongue or anything like that?
His face is black from the dirt on the road. Soon it'll turn blue from bruising.
Looks like you've fallen in an oil patch.
Yeah, I think it was when my head's hit the road. Like I say, 1 minute I'm up, next minute, whack.
Okay.
Helen's thorough examination reveals the injuries are confined to his face. As well as the cut on his eyebrow, Roy's grazed his nose and has a swelling below his eye.
And you are going to need a couple of stitches in that eyebrow.
Right.
Okay. I think the rest of it is all the blood where it's ripped down.
His helmet has protected him from a potentially serious head injury.
Oh, that bit there.
Yeah, got a little bit of a graze there.
But that's on the wrong, yeah, that's on the right side, yeah.
Yeah. It's obviously saved you anyway.
Roy will need to have the cut above his eye stitched at the hospital emergency department. It's his first accident after years using his bike on the road.
I've been going down this road, what, 15, 16 years, same roundabout. And whether it's damp and all of the bus has dropped another load of diesel on it, and you just slide on the diesel. It's all right on 4 wheels, but 2 wheels just go straight away from you.
Well, Roy did indeed turn from black to blue. His eye was stitched and he has since made a full recovery.
I want to tell you about something a little bit different. Behind me, everybody is taking calls, but this is the help desk, and you can email, actually, police here, can't you, Sarah?
Yes.
Tell me what the point is of having this different type of desk.
Yeah, it's just an alternative way of making contact with us. It's 24/7 again.
So what, people can text you, email?
Yep, or they can contact us through our website. They can fill out forms to report crimes or antisocial behaviour.
And what sort of things do they tend to report in that way?
Very varied. Sometimes crimes, sometimes things such as sheep loose in the road, people going into early labour, all sorts.
And you read, do you, every single text and email that comes in?
Yes.
I suppose what's really different as well is it's a very different way of communicating. So you can't, you know, I was talking about an old lady who's plainly distressed on a phone call, but on an email you can't really tell, can you?
You have to read between the lines, check to see if there's any history, if that person's contacted us before, just to see if there's any issues we need to be aware of.
But what should people know? If it's urgent, should they be emailing you, or what should they do?
If there's a crime in progress, they need to phone 999, or if in doubt, they need to phone us rather than email.
OK, very good advice. Sarah, thank you very much. It's interesting.
Thanks.
That's it from us on Real Rescues.
See you next time. Bye-bye.